So let's talk briefly about the creation of the book, the anecdotes in the book. Why did you find it necessary, along with the research that you have about safety and the advice that you're providing about safety? Why did you find it necessary to add the anecdotal stories in there as well?
With any good guide, you should have some type of story that kind of supports your, evidence or your ideologies or statistics. So I thought that would be a fun way to kind of break it up. Like, a lot of times dating guides are, I don't want to say boring, but there's not really a lot of dating guides, I guess. I would say like a guide or a self-help book is really not the most entertaining. So I wanted my book to be entertaining, to kind of like move the story along or move the content along. So that's why I added those types of short stories in. And also it helps people think for themselves. Like, ultimately the book is written in a way that encourages the reader to think for themselves.
Yeah. And this particular story is in the portion of the book that deals with the single mother. So talk about that relationship with that story.
Yeah, I think it's very important for women who are single mothers to recognize that they have to date differently than someone who doesn't have children. A lot of times women have children young, and they feel like, well, they may not even be mature themselves, and they feel like they're missing out on something, so they kind of try to date like a teenager or a young woman would. But unfortunately, once you have that responsibility, everyone who you bring into your life, you need to be thinking about, how is that person going to affect the family as a whole? What is he going to bring to my family? How does he relate to my children? How does he look at my children? So to me, that's why I wrote that chapter specifically for single mothers, because I feel like that's often left out of the conversation as well. And sometimes as a single mother, society makes you feel like you have to settle for certain things, and I don't believe that to be true. So I wanted to empower single mothers, and also, just reinforce the whole look at the entire picture or the person and what they bring to your family, before anything else.
Yeah. So for the audience, did anything about that story resonate with you? There's a few things that I'll ask more specifically if that doesn't draw a response, but anything within the story that resonated to you, or you found familiar in your life story?
Well, Ron, when he his reaction towards her at the end, when he was like, "Well, why did you agree to me?" That was kind of, I thought I took it as a little humor, because yeah, she agreed to meet with you, but she was not obligated to date you,
Right.
or see who you are or whatever. She saw the red flags, and so she just said, "No, oh no, that's not the person I want." And so, I mean, I kind of could understand that. Being a single mom and all that, you don't want to have certain things around your children, especially girls too.
Right.
Right.
For sure. I thought that, that was his attitude. Like, oh, you met me now. I sealed the deal.
But he never.
It was
macho.
Yeah, absolutely. So that shows, like it said, it shows how he knew he was fine. He knew he had a good job. He knew he had a good car. He knew he didn't have children. So in our community, that's considered a catch. Never mind the fact that he's arrogant. Never mind the fact that he's rude and obnoxious. Sometimes women are looking over those things because we have been taught that this is what a good man or a good catch looks like. And unfortunately, well, not unfortunately, I would say that in this day and age, we have to unlearn those, those thoughts. Like, you need to look into more than a good job or someone who appears to be nice or a handsome person. You need to look beyond that to figure out what this person's intentions are.
Yeah. So what drew me to this story is you have an older woman whose intentions, I think, are good. Right? She sees a young woman that has children, and she thinks that in her version of a possible catch.
Right.
So I wonder what the conversation was to him as well. So I know it's an anecdotal story.
Right.
What was he told before he came to
Good question.
to the place? Because he came in with a certain level of confidence that was not warranted by the situation.
Absolutely.
Any other questions with regards to that story, or other questions from the audience?
Yeah, I would think that, just to piggyback off of what you're saying, that Ron would have been told, oh, she is a single mother, she got a nice apartment, it's clean, You know, all she wants is a good man or a man to come, you know, to come in and help her. So yeah, you're right. Like it's always on both ends, and that would affect how he came strutting in, you know. But yeah, that's a good point.
Yeah. And in the story, despite her respect for the older woman, she made her own choices.
Right. And sometimes it's hard when you're young, you know, as a young mother or young woman, and you have these what are supposed to be matriarchs of your community that are giving you advice, and you look to them for advice, and sometimes, you know, what do they call? They are old fool. You know, you don't know. You're just thinking that they're older, so they know what they talking about. Oh, she got a bunch of men, or she's dated, you know, blah, 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 and I don't have any experience. So that was the case with that character. She didn't have a lot of experience, and this woman did. But she was still knowledgeable enough and also confident enough to realize that, hey, maybe, you know, maybe I need to not listen to her. You know, like, let me step back from just allowing her to lead me, because that's a hard thing when you're young, because older people do make you feel like you don't know what you're talking about, and sometimes they try to talk down on you, which that's one of my gripes I talk about all the time. Like in our community, we have a lot of what we call them, Samara, gatekeepers.
Gatekeepers.
Yes,
Yeah.
we were talking about the gatekeepers that we have in the community, and sometimes they don't have the younger person's best interest at heart. You know, that's a hard pill to swallow, that everybody older doesn't have your best interest at heart. And they may portray like they do. Like, I've had older friends who I looked up to who were downright jealous of me. And it took me years to realize that, you know, here I am looking to that person or those persons for guidance, and they're trying to see me fail or see me make a fool out of myself. And so, yeah, I talk to young women about that. I always tell my daughters about that. Like, everybody does not have your best interest at heart, you know, so you have to be careful.
All right, so I have some other questions with regards to the book. So the book, page 69, talks about the exit strategy. Let's talk about that.
Okay, what do you want to know?
What is it for people that haven't purchased the book? What is it? What is the exit strategy?
The exit strategy is basically analysis of the potential person that you're dating. So, as I wrote in the book, when you meet someone, the first thing that a lot of women do, or what we've been trained and programmed to do, is start imagining what type of life we're going to have, how our babies are going to look, you know, all these